This is everyday 5 o'clock traffic on North Davis Highway in Pensacola. Now imagine this road during a hurricane evacuation. It's a scary thought and officials here are concerned. I'm Matt Barrentine. I'll have that story coming up next.
Friends and family say goodbye to specialist Brian Barron. I'm Denise Hrdlica, and I'll take you to the emotional funeral coming up.
Good evening, I'm Chief Meteorologist John Ed Thomson. Today, the first day of hurricane season 2005. What's the weather locally? What does it look like in the future? I've got some of those answers for you next on Fox 10 News at 9 p.m.
You're watching Fox 10 News at 9 p.m.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Grip. Thank you for choosing Fox 10 News at 9 p.m. Anissa Centers has this evening off. It begins. Today marked the start of the 2005 hurricane season. With the sound of Ivan still fresh in all of our minds, that's the last thing anybody wants to think about. And if hurricane forecasters are right, we could be in for another dose of disaster. Many of the experts are predicting a season even worse than last year's. Well, now that another hurricane season has begun, it is decision time. Will you stay or will you go if another storm heads our way? In Pensacola, that's a question with some very tough answers. Fox 10 News meteorologist Matt Barrentine looks at your options.
If Hurricane Ivan taught us anything, it taught us to leave. And now, thanks to that storm, leaving is easier said than done.
We're going to be in trouble because all the routes that were designated to leave out in case of a hurricane has been messed up by Ivan, like Interstate 10 right now.
The bottleneck of Interstate 10 over the Escambia Bay Bridge is a serious concern. Escambia County EMA Director Janice Kilgore says time will be crucial.
We may have to add some hours to our evacuation timetable in the stronger storms, just to make sure we have enough time to get everybody out of the area.
Another strain for evacuations are these, all the FEMA trailers that folks are living in. You can't ride out a storm inside one.
We have a lot more people in mobile homes and travel trailers because their homes have not been repaired, and they all will need to evacuate.
And if the roads are jammed with folks fleeing at the last minute from their FEMA trailers, then where will they go? Another concern is a lack of shelter space. 8 shelters, including Workman Middle School here, are closed due to Ivan repairs. That'll put even more people on the road in an evacuation.
Another good reason to plan an alternate place rather than going to a general shelter this year.
With all these problems, there is really only one solution for evacuation in Pensacola this hurricane season.
People need to leave a lot earlier rather than sitting around waiting and seeing what's going to go on, because Pensacola's in trouble.
Leave early and pack some patience. Hopefully it's advice that won't be needed this hurricane season. In Pensacola, Matt Barrentine, Fox 10 News.
Hard-hit Baldwin County also has some evacuation issues. Officials there have been looking at several possibilities with north-south routes through the county. Hurricane season brings one good thing with it, a 12-day tax break on hurricane supplies in Florida. It's a tax holiday designed to get Floridians ready early this hurricane season. Today, folks in Pensacola did just that. And if any Alabamians want to cross the state line to stock up, that's okay too. Take a look at some of the items on the tax-free list. Things like generators, radios, batteries, fuel tanks, and tarps. The hurricane tax break does not apply to things like plywood or storm shutters. Remember, the tax holiday in Florida only runs through the 12th. Well, what's the weather going to be like tonight? Chief Meteorologist John Ed Thomson is standing by to tell us. John Ed.
Let's go ahead and look right now at the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean, because here we are in June, and in June the storms usually form in the Western Caribbean or in the Gulf of Mexico. Now later on in the year we'll look further off into the Atlantic, but here is where they form during June. So is anything forming out there right now? Well, a few clouds, a few showers out there, but nothing as far as tropical systems are concerned. Not a tropical storm, not a hurricane, not even a depression. You can see the rain rolling out of the central Central American states and across into the Caribbean. Heavy rainfall in the Gulf of Mexico and pushing on towards Florida. Neither of those or none of those are a problem at all. When do hurricanes form? Well, here we are in June, and you can see on the scale showing when the most activity occurs is right there around 10, 11, 12 of September. That, of course, Frederick and Ivan formed right in that same area making landfall. So here we are in June. It edges its way up in June. It plateaus off in July. It starts to rise in August and then peaks out through September and then drops down to another plateau around October. So that's the way hurricane season happens, and so far it's holding true to form. We don't have any out there. Here's what we do have out there. On the Fox 10 News Storm Tracker, starting at 3 o'clock this afternoon, we've had rain showers push on through Opelika and Auburn and off into Georgia. We're looking back to our west because back to our west, a trough is going to move in tonight and tomorrow morning. Give us some scattered showers tonight and some scattered showers tomorrow. Temperature-wise right now, we have 75 degrees both in Pensacola and Mobile, and our winds are coming from the southwest. And for the rest of the night, winds will be southwest at 5 to 10. Clouds, some scattered storms are possible. 71 degrees by midnight, and by 6 a.m. in the morning around 68. Bob, we'll look a little closer at the coming season in just a bit. We'll also look back at 2004.
Okay, thank you, John Ed. Friends and family gave a tearful goodbye to Specialist Brian Barron of Gulfport today. Barron was killed in Iraq when a bomb exploded near his Humvee. Fox 10 News reporter Denise Hrdlica takes you to the emotional ceremony.
Today we mark the passing of Brian Edward Barron.
Friends and family filled Pass Road Baptist Church. They were there to honor a soldier, father, husband, son, and friend. Specialist Brian Barron was so much to so many. Today, he was best remembered as a hero.
Jesus says, greater love has no man than he would lay down his life for his friends. And that's the tribute that we pay today.
The military presence here seemed fitting for Barron. He loved being a soldier. Today, he was rewarded for that love. A Purple Heart, Bronze Star, and Medal of Valor were presented to his family.
See, there are some things worth dying for, and this man believed that and lived that.
Today, that life was remembered with honor. Following the service, Barron was taken to Biloxi National Cemetery, where he received full military honors.
Fire. Ready. Aim. Fire. Ready. Aim. Fire.
The family received the flag that draped Barron's coffin, a reminder that freedom comes with a price Barron was more than willing to pay. Barron won't be buried here in Biloxi National Cemetery. Instead, he'll be cremated. But there will be a monument here in his memory. Some of his friends say they'll even join the military to keep that memory alive.
I want people to know that he's my hero, he's our hero, he's our country's hero, and he died fighting for freedom.
In Biloxi, Denise Hrdlica, Fox 10 News.
3 other members of Barron's unit were also killed during the same attack, including another soldier from Gulfport, Specialist Danny Varnado. Varnado's funeral will be held Friday at noon at Michael Memorial Baptist Church. He, too, will receive full military honors at Biloxi's National Cemetery. A memorial service is set for 4 airmen killed in Iraq who were stationed here on the Gulf Coast. On Friday, fellow airmen will honor Captain Jeremy Vasquez, Captain Derek Argel, Staff Sergeant Casey Crate, and Major William Downs. They all died when their plane went down Monday. Vasquez and Argel had just been promoted to captain the morning of their deaths. Downs was piloting the aircraft when it went down. He was from Virginia. All 4 men were stationed at Hurlburt Field. That's in Okaloosa County, Florida. The men were on board a training flight that crashed about 80 miles northeast of Baghdad. The crash is still under investigation, but right now the military doesn't believe it was shot down. The last tragedy to strike Hurlburt was more than 2 years ago when 3 airmen were killed in a helicopter crash. This is video of that memorial service. William Kerwood, Howard Walters, and Thomas Walkup died when their chopper went down in Afghanistan. More than 2,000 people attended that memorial. Operation Lightning is moving with lightning speed in Iraq. It's the latest push by U.S. and Iraqi troops to round up terrorists in Baghdad. So far, more than 700 suspected militants are in custody, including a former spy for Saddam Hussein. Operation Lightning is the first major offensive led by the Iraqis, though I said U.S. troops are there to help. West Nile virus is here. It's the chickens who turned out to be the heroes in this fight against mosquito-borne illness.
When you're looking for weather information.
So the showers are tracking off to the north right now. Scattered showers are out there at this hour. They're going to be out there for a while.
You'll know to stop and watch the Fox 10 News meteorologists who will bring you the latest information when you need it most. Depend on Fox 10 News Storm Tracker at 5 and 9 p.m. The Fox 10 News meteorologists are dedicated to tracking storms until they are no longer a threat to you. Depend on Fox 10 News Storm Tracker at 5 and 9 p.m. You're watching Fox 10 News at 9 p.m.
Baldwin County Health Department got some bad news today. A sentinel chicken used to test for diseases has tested positive for West Nile virus. 4 other chickens tested positive for eastern equine encephalitis, which is also potentially deadly for humans. Sentinel chickens are set out in pairs to each of the 12 municipalities in Baldwin County, and 4 sets are sent to other areas known for high mosquito populations.
Definitely, everybody should know now that it is in the county. It circulates through the bird population, and depending on the rainfall that we get over the summer, depends on how many mosquitoes and how active they'll be.
The health department says heavy rainfall, hurricane debris, and other factors could mean more cases of West Nile this year. Mobile County also uses chickens to test for mosquito-borne illnesses. There are 13 flocks across the county. So far, none of the health department's birds has tested positive for West Nile or Triple E. But it's a good thing Mobile County is on the lookout for West Nile. Nearly all of the reported human cases in Alabama last year were right in Mobile County. Last year, the entire state of Alabama reported 16 human cases of West Nile. As you can see, 13 of those were in Mobile County. Baldwin County only reported 1 human case. No human cases were reported in Escambia or Santa Rosa counties in Florida. Up next on Fox 10 News, the pictures tell the emotional story. I'll look back at Ivan.
Looking outside right now, it's cloudy to partly cloudy. It's 75 degrees in Pensacola and Mobile, 72 in Jackson, Alabama. In Evergreen, we're now at 71 degrees. Our weather headlines: warm and humid tonight. Thunderstorms developing later on. It'll be clouds with scattered showers for the rest of our week. Your forecast is coming up next.
On this, the first day of hurricane season, we want to take a look back at last year's season, a season we won't soon forget here on the Gulf Coast for one reason: a storm named Ivan.
Ivan is expected to make landfall as a major hurricane, at least as a strong Category 3.
Most of our viewing area tonight is under a mandatory evacuation order.
Hurricane Ivan is a very powerful storm. It is a killer storm.
The wind has been relentless for the last couple of hours, and just when you think it can't blow any harder, it actually gets stronger.
The destruction may be evident, but it's far from over. Even at 8 o'clock on Thursday morning, we are still getting hurricane-force wind gusts in downtown Pensacola.
I just need to know that everybody's okay. That's my biggest concern. Everything else is it just doesn't matter.
You know, unless you live through that like we did,
right,
it's hard to imagine that. And you see it on TV, and it's like, yeah, that's bad, but until you see it.
And you compress it down to that length of time when it lasted for days and days and days, and it was really dramatic around here. And if you've just moved to the Gulf Coast, you need to be aware that these things happen around here.
Right.
And if it does again, we'll keep you informed right here on Fox 10.
That's right. And of course, we always hear about predictions, especially very early in the season. And that's just what they are. They are predictions.
That's right. You write the numbers down, you look at them, then you check it out throughout the year. We've got our own William Gray right here in Mobile County. His name is Tom Berg. And Mr. Berg has a website, and courtesy of his website, we're going to show you what he's predicting for our area. His website is hurricanealley.com. Now, he's showing you what he thinks will happen this year as far as a landfalling storm along our part of the Gulf Coast, starting out in Apalachicola and working over here toward Morgan City, Louisiana. In this area, we have about a 70% chance of having a landfalling hurricane this year. So keep that in mind. We're right there in the middle of those two white lines. We'll keep our eyes on this prediction. We hope that he's off. We hope that he is off. Let me show you what we've got out there as far as this year's prediction. This is from the National Hurricane Center. They're saying there are going to be 15 named storms, and of those named storms, 8 will become hurricanes. Of the 8, 4 will be major hurricanes. That's Category 3 or higher, and the chance of a major hurricane affecting the Florida to Texas Gulf Coast, in other words, the entire Gulf of Mexico, about a 44% chance of some landfalling storm of a major category hitting Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, or Florida. So there's a real good chance of something hitting there. Here are the names for the year 2005, starting with Arlene. We haven't gotten there yet. We're going to work our way through the storms, and these are 15 of the names out there, all the way through Maria and Nate. The first storm again is Arlene. The second is Brett. Cindy's the third. Dennis is the fourth. Emily is the fifth. Franklin, then Gert. And of course, 2 years ago, we started off in April with Anna in the Atlantic. So at least we haven't worked our way past the A as we begin the hurricane season today and work our way all the way through the end of November. What we have out there tonight is just kind of a muggy situation with rain showers pushing out of Alabama and Florida through Georgia, and some more rain showers developing off to our west back in Arkansas and Louisiana. Overnight tonight, we expect some scattered showers and a nighttime low in Mobile of about 69 degrees along the beaches of Baldwin County, where Ivan made landfall. 71 degrees in the morning, and a scattered shower or two in Daphne. 68 degrees in Citronelle and in Bay Minette. And the high and low tonight is going to be about 70 in Pensacola, 70 in Pace, and 68 in Oak Grove. Crestview, our low should be about 68 as well, and in Fort Walton about 73. Coming up into the interior counties of Washington, Clark, and Monroe, and Conecuh, and Escambia County. 67 the low tonight in Atmore, 66 in Jackson, 65 degrees in Beatrice and Thomasville. In Evergreen, about 66 degrees in Chatham, 67 for the nighttime low. The low in Pascagoula tomorrow morning, about 70 in Hurley, 69 in Loosedale, and 68 degrees in Leakesville. By 10 o'clock, coming from 75 down to about 73. It'll be cloudy out there, muggy out there at midnight, 71 degrees. An isolated shower between 3 a.m. and daybreak, 70 degrees at 3 and 69 at 6 a.m. And for the latest in the weather, tune in at 5:30 tomorrow morning. Jason Smith will have the latest. Bob?
Okay, thanks, John Ed. Once again, if you want to see that hurricane prediction map, go to hurricanealley.net. The cause of a major landslide in Southern California is still under investigation tonight. Now, geologists think it may be the result of storms that drenched the area this past winter. This is what it looked like in Laguna Beach. When the earth moved this morning, it sent a number of multi-million-dollar homes crashing down the mountain. Amazingly, nobody was killed, only a few people were injured. Now, it hasn't rained in this area for a month, but Southern California did see one of the wettest winters on record. That may be what's behind this disaster. About 1,000 people have been evacuated, and it could be days or even weeks before they're allowed to return. It's one of the area's biggest drug busts ever. More than 700 marijuana plants, drugs, and guns. And help me put some suspected purse snatchers behind bars on tonight's edition of Fox 10 News Fugitive Files. Fox 10 News Fugitive Files wants to find 2 men accused of purse snatching. This is video of the men using stolen credit cards at a store in West Mobile. The cashier remembered these 2 guys for 2 reasons.
one of the cashiers noted that they were wearing makeup and that they appeared to be wearing women's purses across their shoulders.
If you know who these two men are, call the Mobile Police Fox 10 News Fugitive Files hotline at that number, 251-208-1715. A major marijuana bust in George County, Mississippi. Listen to this. It happened this afternoon in the Bendale community. That's where narcotics officers raided 2 homes and scored big. Officers say they walked away with 726 pot plants, seeds, indoor lighting systems, and several bags of the drug ready for sale. One person was arrested. The Sheriff's Department says this is the largest bust in the history of the county. A troubled man, a traitor, human excrement. Always people are describing the man we now know as Deep Throat. Also, it's protection in prime time. For the first time, a condom ad airs on primetime TV.
If you're heading for the beach, be aware that we have a low risk for rip currents tomorrow, but they can pick up when the winds pick up and the storms happen, so be aware of that. Southwest winds tomorrow about 10 knots, the air temperature 81, water temperature 79, wave heights about 2 to 3 feet, and the UV index is still high at 6, although a bit cloudy at times tomorrow. Your forecast is coming on Fox 10 TV at 9 p.m. On the Fox 10 News Storm Tracker, we've been tracking the highs and lows today to see what came up, and this is what we had. We had a low in Mobile of 69, 70 the low in Pensacola. That's about normal, as you see. 67 is the normal low in Mobile, 70 is the normal low for Pensacola. It actually only reached 84 in Pensacola and 81 in Mobile. The normal highs, both in Pensacola and Mobile, 87 degrees. Looking back at the records, 98 is the record back in 1998, and back in 1998 it also hit 98 in Pensacola, 49 the low in 84 in Mobile, and 55 the low in 1889 in Pensacola. So there were the highs and lows today, 81 and 69, 84 and 70. Outside the low this morning, as you saw, 70 in Mobile and 70 in Pensacola. 69 is the official Mobile reading, and that was done at the airport. 72 was the low in Pascagoula. NAS had a low of 72. So did Destin. They were down to 70 in Evergreen, and in Crestview, 70 was the low there. 82 was the high in Evergreen today. 81 NAS and 84 at the airport in Pensacola. 85 in Crestview, 83 in Destin, 83 for Pascagoula, 81 in Mobile's airport, and 83 degrees the high at Brookley. Right now, Brookley has the same reading, as does Mobile's airport, Milton, and the Pensacola airport, all coming in at 75 degrees right now. Pascagoula 72, it's 74 at NAS, 76 in Crestview, 78 in Destin, is currently 71 in Evergreen, and they have 72 around the Jackson area here in Clark County. But as you see, nothing coming down as far as rainfall is concerned. We're looking at basically a muggy night with mild temperatures, and as the night goes on, basically with a south wind, we're going to pump in some moisture. The moisture of the afternoon is now being pushed out of Alabama and Florida and up the Atlantic seaboard. There's rain all the way from Nashville over to western Kentucky and back down here into the South Carolina area. Some showers offshore, matter of fact, messing up a lot of golf plans up and down the Carolina coastline. What we do have going on, though, is a warm front that's pushing to the north, an area of low pressure right there south of Memphis, and a trough that's going to come through the area. And that trough is going to spell a good chance of either nighttime or daytime showers tomorrow, starting at 9 o'clock tonight on the future track and going until midnight. We're looking at basically a cloudy situation as the clouds increase during the nighttime, and by 6 o'clock in the morning there could be some scattered showers coming out of Mississippi and pushing over into Alabama. Then as the afternoon folds out, about noontime, some scattered showers up toward Clark County around Thomasville, some more scattered showers from Choctaw and northern Washington County all the way over toward the Beatrice area, and some scattered showers here in Baldwin County, Mobile County, and even the panhandle counties of Escambia and Santa Rosa County. And then in the afternoon, we're looking for scattered showers as well, going from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 9 o'clock tomorrow night. But our forecast tonight, just a few widely scattered showers, cloudy conditions, a low along the coast of 72, 64 inland, and southwest winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. The wind's still continuing out of the southwest tomorrow. It's going to be warm, humid, and stormy at times now. High of 84 inland, 81 along the coastline. Here's a look at the next couple of days. A 40% rain chance on Thursday, 30% on Friday, and over the weekend, 40% chance of rain and a high in the upper 80s. That's the 7-day outlook, Bob, here on Fox 10 News at 9 p.m.
Thank you, John Ed. For the first time, an ad for condoms aired on national television during prime time. 2 networks have agreed to run those commercials during their most watched hours. So how do you feel about that? Well, it depends on whom you ask. Fox 10 News reporter Andrew Davis has the story.
Many folks caught this commercial during their favorite show tonight. Trojan became the first condom company to get its ads aired during primetime TV. According to some medical professionals, it's been a long time coming.
Children or teenagers don't always get the education at home that they need to learn to protect themselves from STDs and from getting pregnant. And condom ads, I think, would go a long way in doing that.
Gwen Ledger is the clinical director of Planned Parenthood. She says the highest number of new HIV and sexually transmitted disease cases are in teens, the target group for the new contraception ads.
The alternative is you don't tell them anything, and they're ignorant about what's going on with their bodies, etc., and they end up becoming pregnant or having an STD. And in case of HIV, it's fatal down the road.
But some parents aren't so sure if they want condom ads to be part of their kids' daily lives.
I feel like it's promoting sexual activity among our youth, and I think that they should be teaching abstinence.
There's HIV, there's pregnancy and things of that nature, so I think a lot of us are still ignorant to that fact.
It would increase teenage pregnancies, and that's not a good thing for our society or generation.
Others say it's an important learning tool for teens, and the smaller children just won't pick up the details.
He probably wouldn't understand the concept of it because he seen something the other day and it was about condoms, and he thought they were saying anaconda.
Whether they understand it or not, kids and everyone else will be seeing more of these ads on TV very soon. In Mobile, Andrew Davis, Fox 10 News.
$230 million in condoms were sold in the last year without TV ads. So far, the WB and NBC are the only 2 networks that have agreed to run those commercials during prime time. A Seattle man says he was beaten by rapper Snoop Dogg's entourage. This video backs up that claim. The man's name is Richard Monroe. He says he was encouraged to climb on stage during a concert this weekend, but as soon as he got near Snoop Dogg, he was jumped by a half-dozen rappers. Now Monroe has a broken nose and swollen eyes.
Everybody that was performing, everybody that was back there with him, they was just beating me, stopping me, hitting me with bottles, hitting me with microphones.
Video goes on to show the man being beaten for the duration of the song. A statement from the rapper's publicist says the man had no business being on stage. Now that Deep Throat has a name and a face, he also has some tough critics. All of Washington was talking today about former FBI executive W. Mark Felt, and much of the reaction was not positive. Fox's James Rosen has the story.
The revelation that 91-year-old Mark Felt was Deep Throat, the mysterious Watergate-era source for Washington Post reporter Bob Woodward, drew reaction today from all levels of American politics and government, starting with one of Richard Nixon's successors as president, who, in a meeting with South Africa's president, declined to say whether Felt was a hero.
It was a revelation that caught me by surprise. And I thought it was very interesting. I'm looking forward to reading about him.
Surviving Nixon aides also weighed in from his architect of foreign policy.
I have always believed and continue to believe that there was not one Deep Throat, and I suppose Mark Felt was one of several sources that were put into a composite portrait.
To Nixon's chief of staff, Alexander Haig, who argued officials must remain loyal to their president.
And if you can't, for whatever your reasons, then you have an obligation to resign and take necessary steps within your power to deal with the problem.
Gordon Liddy, the former FBI agent who conceived the Watergate break-in, spoke about the obligations attendant on FBI men who learn about criminal activity.
What you are ethically bound to do is to go to a grand jury and seek an indictment, not to selectively leak it to a single news source.
Even Bernard Barker, one of the original Watergate burglars, now 87, came forward to condemn Felt as quote-unquote human excrement.
No, he goes and sneaks away and talks to the press. I say, the man has no honor.
The truth is, I can't figure out what we've got.
On the big screen, Post editor Ben Bradley, portrayed by the late Jason Robards, worried whether Woodward and his partner Carl Bernstein had their facts straight. Today, Bradley spoke in terms of closure.
I mean, you know, this is it's the end of a story. One part of it, the last part of it, really.
But questions remain. Among them, could Mark Felt have known all that Woodward attributed to him? One key tip from November 1973 was that Nixon's tapes had a gap created by a deliberate erasure. Yet only a handful of Nixon aides knew this, and Felt had already left the FBI by that time. Deep Throat also claimed John Mitchell, Nixon's campaign manager, got help investigating the origins of the Watergate break-in from E. Howard Hunt. But Hunt was a conspirator in the break-in who never met John Mitchell.
There was no single person in the Nixon administration who knew all the things that Woodward attributed to Deep Throat. Those few people who knew about the 18-and-a-half-minute gap did not know about other aspects that were reported in the Washington Post.
Perhaps the most basic question that remains is, how did Bob Woodward and Mark Felt actually know each other? All the president's men tells us they were, quote, old friends who spent many evenings talking about politics, quote, long before Watergate. But Woodward was a police reporter, not a political reporter at the time, and he had only been at the Post for 9 months when Watergate broke. Prior to that, he worked for the Montgomery County Sentinel, hardly the kind of outlet whose reporters typically enjoy access to the number 2 man at the FBI. In Washington, James Rosen, Fox News.
A baby girl known as the Little Mermaid is one step closer to a normal life. Details after the break. And
real sweet little girl. We're going to miss her.
A tragic accident claims the life of a young girl in Bay Minette.
Before a storm.
To get you up to speed. Worst of the weather yet to move in, but it's right on our doorstep.
During a storm.
Be aware, heavy rainfall coming down and possible hail with strong gusty winds.
After a storm.
Looking clear across the forecast area right now.
Depend on Fox 10 News Storm Tracker at 5 and 9 p.m.
A 9-year-old Grand Bay girl is dead tonight. State troopers say she was hit by a truck in front of her home last night. It happened near the intersection of Sanger Road and Orange Street. Jerica McCall's mother said she didn't realize her daughter had gone outside after 9 o'clock Tuesday. The child was apparently going to visit a nearby friend when she was hit by a pickup truck right in front of her house. Desi Carl said her niece wanted to go home with her that night, but it was her older brother's turn to visit.
She was just with me the other night before last, and she wanted to go last night, and I didn't take her, and I wish a million times I had her.
State troopers say the accident is still under investigation, but they do not expect any charges to be filed against the driver who hit Jerica. State troopers are still looking for a hit-and-run driver tonight after yesterday's collision in Sims. It happened yesterday morning at the intersection of Spice Pond and Rosemary Roads. Investigators say a truck ran a stop sign and broadsided a van with 6 children inside. There is some good news, though. 14-year-old Amanda Watkins has been upgraded to fair condition tonight. She was the most seriously injured in the crash. If you know who caused it, call the police. Doctors in Peru say they have successfully completed surgery on a little girl known as the Mermaid Baby. It took 4.5 hours to separate the baby girl's legs, which had been fused together. She was born with her legs joined from her thighs to her ankles, a condition known as mermaid syndrome. The baby's said to be doing okay, but will have to deal with stitches that'll go from her ankles up to her thighs. Doctors say the little girl could still need up to 15 more years of surgery to repair her deformed internal organs. Are you stocked up on hurricane supplies yet? You may be missing something.
And then just put it in the window opening and lock it in.
A look at the latest gadgets to get you through hurricane season.
Well, I'm going to try to get you through tomorrow. If you're heading either down to the beach or taking the boat out, it's going to be like this. A light chop in the bays. Winds coming out of the southwest at 10 knots. Seas running only about 2 feet. And by the way, we've got 2 high tides and 2 low tides over the next 24 hours. We call those nip tides or neap tides if you prefer. Your forecast is next.
Hurricane Ivan left many folks on the Gulf Coast without power for days, even weeks in some places. With hurricane season now here, you can't help but think of the possibility of that happening again. But as John Zarella reports, there are some new gadgets this year to help you out.
For millions of Floridians, the last hurricane season meant ice, last-minute runs for plywood, and blue tarps. If this is another mean season, why not minimize the misery?
Look at the magic that's going on in here. Again, it literally will steam, and that's going to warm your meal up 100 degrees above whatever the ambient temperature is.
A simple chemical reaction cooks these heater meals in a tray. No need for gas or electricity.
I was going to say it tastes better because I didn't have breakfast, but it tastes good. It just tastes good.
Heater meals were just one of dozens of hurricane pain relievers displayed at a Florida tropical weather conference. How about this Ready Kit? Everything you can think of to get through the storm and some things you'd never think of.
This is a nylon utility turn-off wrench, so if you have to turn off gas in the house, you'd use this without creating a spark.
Let there be light without a gas-guzzling generator. For $500, you can own a Power Pal. Just hook it up to a car battery.
It makes no noise. It uses no fuel whatsoever. Okay? It emits no pollutants. It can be used indoors.
There were plenty of shutter designs to choose from, but getting them installed now is another story.
It's a market like I've never seen before, John. Most companies are booked up a minimum of 6 months. Some of them are saying a year and a half behind as far as when they can come out and install shutters.
If plywood is your only option, the makers of Ply Locks say these steel clips can simplify the job.
Squeeze your clip down so that it fits on good and snug, and then just put it in the window opening and lock it in.
With a little luck, you won't need to use any of this stuff, but images of Florida last year should be enough to get people in the hurricane zone moving now, just in case.
That's right. Better not wait. Those Ply Locks look kind of interesting, John Ed.
Yes, they do sell those locally. You can pick them up. They come in a pack of, I think, 4 or 5 or 6, and you buy the pack, and that covers one window. And they're not inexpensive, though. They do cost a bit, but you cut the plywood to fit the hole or the opening, and then you push it right on in there, and it kind of locks against the brick if you have a recessed window, and many of us do. Let me show you what was going on around here this spring. This was one of the wettest springs ever, both in Mobile and Pensacola. In Mobile, it was the 11th wettest spring for the last 3 months. We've had 24.5 inches of rain in 3 months. In Pensacola, this was the wettest spring ever with 39.34 inches of rain. That's over 3 feet of rain in 3 months. Now, looking at the rainfall since midnight last night in Mobile, only 7/100ths, even though a lot of heavy rain came down before midnight. Now, not all of the rain obviously fell at the airport. It may have fallen in your backyard or along Interstate 10 toward the river. Now, in Pensacola, they had 70/100ths, in other words, 3/4 of an inch of rain in Pensacola. And for the month, 0.07. And in Pensacola for the month, 0.70, only 1 day into the month right now. And for the year, Mobile's had 30.97, Pensacola's had 4.
Fox 10 Sports is brought to you in part by Mobile Greyhound Park.
What's the future like for Mike Shula at Alabama? Let's check in with Eric Richie.
Bob, whether it's a vote of confidence or just an added tool for recruiting, Alabama Athletic Director Mal Moore is talking contract extension for head coach Mike Shula. His current 6-year contract runs through the end of January 2009, but Bama's AD says he would like to sit down with Shula this coming week. Speaking at the SEC spring meeting in Destin, Florida, Moore said it won't be difficult on his part, and he hopes it won't be for Shula, who has posted records of 4-9 and 6-6 after taking over the Bama program saddled with NCAA sanctions. Auburn football coach Tommy Tuberville will receive the second annual Collegiate Award from the New Orleans Touchdown Club. Tuberville guided the Tigers to their first ever 13-0 season and number 2 national ranking this past season. The award presentation is June 18th. Now, both Coach Tuberville and Shula have plenty of talent headed their way on display all week right here in Mobile. The Alabama-Mississippi High School All-Star Classic is loaded with soon-to-be members of the Tigers and Crimson Tide. 6 players on the Alabama team alone are headed to Auburn in the fall. 2 of those local players, here's linebacker Antonio Coleman of Williamson, and wearing number 82 this week, Davidson tight end Dave McKenzie.
I mean, it feels good that people, consider you as one of the best in the state and whatever, and play on the team together. It feels good to play with your teammates, and, you're going to be playing with the next 4 years.
They had a great season last year, We went up to all the fellas talk, and, we showed, we figured that was the place we were going to go. So, we just down here, like a family, whole big old family, so we get to go off, get get up there and make something special happen. But we got to win Saturday first.
Indeed, and Alabama fans can get a look at one of the quarterbacks of the future on the Mississippi team. Jimmy Johns out of Brookhaven. He's a special player. He led his team to a 4A state championship and was also named Mississippi's Mr. Football.
They just told me that they were going to give me the opportunity to play. That's all I'm looking for. If I get the opportunity, I feel like that I can prove myself and get on the field some kind of way. And, I mean, that's all I'm looking for, is the opportunity at anything.
Saturday's game at 7 p.m. kickoff at Ladd-Peebles Stadium. Alabama has won 6 straight All-Star Classics. David Cutcliffe is resigning as Notre Dame's assistant football coach and quarterbacks coach because of health concerns. The 50-year-old former Ole Miss head coach underwent triple bypass heart surgery in March and says it will be months until he has the strength to take part in the football program. When South Alabama played Auburn back in March, the Jags gave the ball to their ace, P.J. Walters. All the sophomore right-hander did was strike out 11 Tigers on his way to a 7-hit shutout. When the Jags face Auburn again, this time in the first game of the NCAA Regionals, guess who will get the start on the mound for South Alabama? Yeah, P.J. Walters. He's been the Jags' workhorse, leading the team in wins, games started, innings pitched, and strikeouts. He's 9-6 on the season with an ERA of 4.00, the best among Jags starters. Friday's game against Auburn in Tallahassee will be the biggest of his collegiate career.
I had command that night pretty much of all my pitches, which helped. As long as I can locate them and keep them off balance a little bit, I should be fine. Hopefully it'll be about the same outcome, but you never know.
PJ threw a great game against them, but they've seen him, and we haven't seen their number one, Huey, who one-hit Alabama. He's an outstanding left-hander, evidently, and it should be a great matchup.
It should be. Looking forward to it on Friday.
All right, thanks, Eric. We'll be right back.
If you see news happening, hit star 10 on your singular wireless cell phone and connect to the Fox 10 News newsroom.
Here's a look at the next 7 days. A 40% rain chance tomorrow, down to 30% on Friday. A high ranging from 84 tomorrow. Warming up for the weekend, scattered showers.
All right, thank you, John Ed. Join Eric Reynolds, Erica Fox, and Jason Smith at 5.